Hey, this is Phil. It's Columbus Day weekend, and the gang has kind of split up and gone out of town, so we do not have a new podcast this week. So we are going back into the archives. This is an interview we recorded with Todd Komarnicki a few years ago. He is a Wheaton College grad, a local kid who then went to New York and got into the film business. We talk about his career and that journey in the interview. He's best known as a producer on Elf, but also after this interview, he wrote the film Sully about the Miracle on the Hudson with Captain Sullenberger, and has a new TV series that I believe he's sold to NBC. So anyway, enjoy this interview with Todd Komarnicki, and we will be back next week with a new episode. Hey, I'm back here with our special guest. Our special guest is Todd Komarnicki.
Perfectly pronounced.
Right?
That's perfect.
Komarnicki. He said pronounce it like there's a hyphen in the middle, which there isn't, but I'm pretending. Komarnicki. I don't think he's icky. I don't think he's sicky because he looks pretty healthy today. Okay. Hi, Todd. How are you?
Well, I was really doing extraordinarily well until that theme song.
Thank
that was
you.
Probably the worst theme song. I was excited when I saw the ukulele. You sing beautifully, but the lyrics.
Hey, we have fans. And if you
that's because it's hot in here. You need fans.
If you disparage the ukulele or the performance thereof, you'll get flamed.
Don't you have to parage before you disparage?
You have to parage before you unparage.
Philippe Vichet. That's the actual pronunciation of Phil's name.
Reparage. Okay.
He tries to be Midwest and one of the people, but he's really Philippe Vichet. If you were here with me, you'd see him in his beret.
I'm a Frenchman in Illinois.
He's eating a croissant.
Now, speaking of which, you've directed one film, and it was like half in French, right?
Oui.
Where'd that come from? Why do you...
Qu'est-ce qu'un problème de le cinéma? C'est maintenant la différence entre... No, just kidding. The reason I just got hired, I got hired to write the script of Resistance, which was a book by Anita Shreve.
Yeah.
And then after I wrote it, they asked me to direct it. So it was not a goal to direct a film that's half in French, but it's set in World War II in Nazi-occupied Belgium.
And are you a fluent French speaker?
No, I'm not fluent, but I speak enough to get by. My wife speaks French.
Oh.
My brother-in-law is from Paris. My sister is fluent.
Okay, so you're one of those really hip couples where,
it's pretty hip, but it's more
Do you
it's
consider
hysterical.
yourself citizens of the world?
Well, when you live in New York City, you just walk 2 blocks and you're a citizen of the world. You've seen every single person from every country. But no, my wife speaks flawless French, but with a horrendous accent. It's from nowhere. It's from Mars.
Okay.
Like, il est vu maintenant la place. But it's exactly right, and she speaks it really well. She's from Ireland. She has a beautiful Irish accent in real life. But when she speaks French, it's like she's been, attacked from behind, and she can't
you
form
married
words.
an Irish girl who speaks flawless French.
Wouldn't you have? If you'd met her, I would have. She's pretty great.
And does she like Irish dance, or is it more a cabaret thing?
She's a terrible Irish step dancer.
Okay.
But she's a groovy dancer in general. She does this thing where she sort of leans back and cocks her hips and puts her legs out. Our wedding dance video it should go viral.
But it hasn't yet.
Well, that's because I've kept it under wraps until the proper moment.
It should go viral, but I'm not going to.
I was waiting until viral,
meant something.
Equals
global domination.
Or spreading maximum love.
Or that.
That's the difference between Phil and I. He's into power, I'm into love. I guess
that's the Christian view of global domination is love. All we need is love. Okay, you are. What do you call yourself?
What are you? What do you call yourself?
It's my show. I don't have to define myself.
You're undefinable.
You're a man about town.
Not today. I'm a man in Carol Stream. Is this Carol Stream?
Yeah, this is technically Carol
Stream. So
we're
live streaming from Carol Stream?
Yeah, except we're not live streaming. But we are in Carol Stream. So
how was the first half of the show? What did we talk about in the first half of the show?
Way better than this. No, it was great. We talked about the news, and I don't even remember. It was actually a couple days ago. So, okay, you're a filmmaker, kind of. You're a writer, you're a producer, you're a director. If you introduce yourself, you're in Wheaton, Illinois. People don't know who you are. You say, hi, I'm Todd. I'm a...
That's a good question.
What did you say?
Well, I would say, first of all, I'm a Komarnicki.
Yeah, Komarnicki.
I'm very attached to my family name, seriously.
Okay.
Just being it's Ukrainian. My father is 100% Ukrainian. His parents, my grandparents, came over via Ellis Island right before the Russian Revolution.
Okay.
And Joseph and Anna Komarnicki, their names are on the wall at Ellis Island. And in all seriousness, the name means a great deal to me because they were teenagers and they came all the way across the world from this tiny village in Ukraine called Komarnicki. And they wound up and they built this family, had 10 kids. My grandfather had a third grade education and was a short order cook in a diner. And my grandmother in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And my grandmother, Anna, was illiterate. So she signed an X for her name. And when I first went to Ellis Island, it finally hit me that I was looking across this vast expanse and think of these two scared teenagers who came and all the sacrifices they made and all the embarrassment or shyness and difficulty of a new culture, and certainly the illiteracy that dogged my grandmother, and the fact that because of their courage, their grandson, just 2 generations later, was published in the language of the country that they came to.
Wow.
And I just sobbed my eyes out because it's so easy to forget that you come from anywhere. Often people have frustrating childhoods, or even if they have a good one, they don't look too far back. And everything, that expression of we're standing on the shoulders of giants is everything has come from elsewhere. We may be blossoming in a garden, but it's not a garden we dug. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just really grateful to be able to say I'm a Komarnicki.
That's awesome. Rock on, Komarnicki. So you, when you were a kid, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a baseball player.
Okay, so that didn't work.
How do you know? You weren't there. Have you seen the footage? No, it worked to an extent, but not to a professional extent. I got to play. I played at Wheaton and enjoyed it. And we were at the alumni game today, and I remembered what I used to look like. They gave us jerseys to put back on, and I was a couple buttons short. But yeah, I loved baseball and wasn't quite good enough to become a professional. And then I wanted to be a rock star. Oh. And I tried for about 10 years.
You sing?
I do.
And play?
Right now, sing and write songs.
Okay.
And I was in a bunch of bands for about 10 years. But during those 10 years, my writing career took off in screenwriting first and then in writing a couple of novels. And everything changed for me. I remember one particular night I was 29 and I'd gotten a check that day for a screenplay I'd written, a portion of payment that was, thank God, enough to sort of cover an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. And that night, my band played in front of 18 people on the Lower East Side. And I walked out and I got $26 in cash and singles, folded up, sweaty singles. And that was my take-home pay for singing. And I was helping our guitarist load up the van, and the amp was heavy, and it was pouring icy rain in New York. And I sort of thought about this $26 and this check over here, and I thought maybe it's not really about chasing the money, but maybe I'm running into a brick wall here.
Right.
So I chose writing. I think that was the right call.
Yeah. And what year was that?
That was 1924.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the
Parlophone had just come out. My dog is the RCA Victor dog. A lot of people don't realize that.
Okay, you graduated
that was
from
19.
Wheaton,
what year was that? That was 1995.
Okay, 1995.
That key moment in life.
And you graduated from Wheaton in
87.
87. Okay, because we already discovered you're 8 months older than I am.
Yes.
And so you've obviously learned more.
Well, wait till you see what happens in the next 8 months. It's going to rock your world.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so you start writing. What was that film? Did it get produced? Or was it
Which film? Oh, the one that I got checked for.
One.
No, that's the crazy thing. It's sort of the boring mantra of Hollywood is that 10% of all the scripts that sell or are done for hire in a book adaptation or whatever become movies. So there's this massive rate of attrition.
There's a whole hidden industry of people who have made a living never making anything.
Yeah, I made a few things, but for 25 years, nonstop in one business, most of what I've done, people haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that's kind of...
It's odd.
It is an odd...
It's as if no one were listening to this podcast right now.
I certainly hope that's not the case, but we'll talk as if it is not the case.
Can we call it a Toddcast? today.
That's a great idea.
Just today.
Welcome to the Toddcast. I'm here with Pod. I'm going to call you Pod.
I'd have to be Pod.
We have to swap
Pod
it out because
Komarnicki.
there's only one Todd available in our, interchangeable
I understand.
alphabet. Okay.
That's fine. I'm okay. I'm at peas with that. If we're working Veggie Tales, I mean.
Okay, so that was that decision to pursue film and screenwriting was 95. You said 93. What did
Well,
you
to really
say?
pursue it, I started working in 88. I got my first job writing a screenplay in 88. And then I've been working off and on. I didn't really like the movie business precisely because you felt like you were writing and pouring words down a hole.
Yeah.
And then later, after I'd been working for a while, that's how I got into producing because it's really great to have a job where you're writing, but I need to help get more things out there.
Yeah. So, which leads to probably the movie that everybody really loves that you were involved with.
Son of the Mask. I know. Thank you.
Were you involved with that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Elf. Has anyone heard of Elf as a little film?
Not Alf.
Not Alf.
Although,
no.
you know what? They're actually developing the movie of Alf now.
I don't even doubt it for a second, which is how low things have sunk. I just don't, once Chipmunks took off, when I heard about Chipmunks, I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then boom, it's a huge hit. We're going to make Chipmunks 2. We're going to make Chipmunks 3. It's like, what other old things that no one was ever really that enthusiastic about but have brand awareness can we turn into a movie?
I think VeggieTales is next.
Alf.
No, I'm going to go VeggieTales.
Oh, your words are hurtful.
No, they're not. It's the future. You need to put a wig on the veg. It's anything furry. We're talking chipmunks and Alf.
You're listed as a producer of Elf.
Yes.
Which sometimes only means you wrote someone a check.
No, that's executive producer.
Oh, okay, executive producer.
Yeah.
So what
It's confusing. In television, executive producer is the highest credit.
Yeah.
It's the creator of the show and the showrunner. So it's run by the writers. In the movie business, executive producer is either the financial end or it's often a credit that goes to the line producer, somebody that really does the manifesting of the actual production.
Okay.
But producer is...
What's a producer?
In our case, producer is just being the creative entity that's with the project from inception through marketing.
So whose idea was Elf?
It was David Berenbaum, the writer who wrote the script.
Okay.
It's really interesting. I was just talking at lunch about how it's the things that we're lacking that drive us into greatness. It's the thing we yearn for. It's like, I got to fill that hole. Mm-hmm. And in trying to fill that hole, we create something quite beautiful often. And so David was growing up in Northeast Philadelphia, and in his neighborhood, he was one of the few Jewish families. And every Christmas, driving home from school, he would see window after window lit up and tinseled trees and all the beauty of Christmas. And then he'd come into his home, and the menorah was there, and everything else was dark in the house. And he had really a yearning for the beauty, the pageantry, if nothing else. I don't think he understood that it might mean something else, but he definitely felt like he was on the outside.
He had Christmas envy.
He did have Christmas envy, exactly. So the first 2 scripts that he ever wrote were both Christmas movies. One was Christmas in New Jersey, which never got made, but is phenomenal. And the other one was Elf. And so we, John Berg, my producing partner, and I got a hold of the script. We helped develop it. We helped get it to Will Ferrell. Got Will Ferrell attached. We sold it to New Line. Then we hired Jon Favreau, and we were involved all the way through the marketing
So were you
of the
on
movie.
set?
Sure.
Were you an on-set producer,
Yes.
that kind of producer?
Yes.
Wow. That's cool.
Yes.
And so that's a good way to get your name out in Hollywood, if you can put that after it. Right?
That just sounds so funny. It's like you're going door to door in a trench coat trying to get your name out. Excuse me.
Isn't that kind of what Hollywood
Have you
is?
seen my name?
And was that before or after Resistance?
That was sort of very close to Resistance. It sort of happened at the same time.
Okay.
And Elf had a slightly larger audience.
Yeah, it did. The funny thing about
If it had been half
Elf,
in French, maybe Elf wouldn't. Joyeux Noël à Santa Claus. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire?
The funny thing about Elf is particularly for like good kids, for church kids, they absolutely love that movie. The number of youth groups that watch that like every year.
We said we need to make a movie for the good kids.
Yeah, for the
and for the bad kids.
Well, that's what Santa's all
about. For the average kids and the evil kids.
Santa
for all the kids.
It's for the good kids.
I kid.
But okay, would you say that your faith affected what ended up on the screen in any way, shape, or form?
You know, I get asked this question about integration and faith and things like that. I just don't see the world like that.
Okay.
There's no integration because my faith is who I am. So I wouldn't even be able to measure that. I feel like my creativity had an impact, and we had a great team of talented people all working together and pulling in the same direction. So that made it a magical experience. It was so much fun. But film is so collaborative.
Right.
Somebody asked me what's my greatest memory from the movie, and I think it's sitting with Bob Newhart on set in between
that would
scenes.
Be fun.
Bob Newhart, one of the legends of television. Bob Newhart, he's a genius. And what a lovely human being. And he was so thrilled because he had been a television star, and then it had been later in his career, so it was sort of quiet. And he'd never really been in movies. And now he was in this big movie with this very popular comedian of the new day. And his rhythm with Will and his just kindness with everyone and never stopped storytelling, whether we were on set or at dinner. And so time with Bob Newhart, I'll treasure that forever.
So thus you're saying Will Ferrell was kind of a jerk?
Will Ferrell is a doll. Super nice guy.
Oh, okay.
And there are people, obviously, there are rough personalities in every business, and try not to talk about those people too much. But Will is very generous, and he has a big heart, super funny, easy to work with, easy to be around. No, nothing but good things to say about Will.
Okay.
He said
even
this really,
when he's wearing tights?
Even when he wears yeah, exactly. Even in deep makeup? Discomfort, he is kind.
And whose idea was it that the overcoat would not quite cover his waist?
I think probably Will's nutritionist. I think that was a lack of jogging decision. But no, I want to tell a sweet thing about Will. When he met my mom at the premiere, and Will's very tall. My mom was about 5'6", and I said, "Will, this is my mom." And he took her hand and he looked at her so sincerely, and he said, "You've done a terrible, terrible job." And my mom didn't miss a beat. She was like, "I know, we're so ashamed." So that's the kind of guy Will is.
And is that saying about your family too? Does your family have a sense of humor?
Yeah, well, my mom's a great laugher.
Okay.
And, well, she's with the Lord now. Miss her so much. But Mary Grace she knew how to laugh. All the great memories that I have of her, she's laughing.
Okay.
Or crying. She's very in touch with her emotions. And she was a big fan of comedy. So if you really just needed all your blues cured, just be in a room with my mom watching What About Bob, and everything bad and sad will go away. That movie's so underrated. It's a little piece of perfection.
Okay, so why didn't you immediately jump on Elf 2, 3, and 4?
We did. We had a script written by Scott Armstrong. It's phenomenal. It's a very, very good script. And Will just decided that he didn't want to do the sequel.
He hung up the tights?
Yeah, he hung up the tights.
Wow, that's so sad.
Personal decision. But you know what? It's okay. Because
he's going to do a Ron Burgundy sequel.
Yeah, he wants to do a Ron Burgundy sequel. But it's totally okay because we captured magic there, and it is what it is. And I'm not a huge fan of sequels anyway. So it was disappointing because the script was so good. But
so do you think it would have worked?
It's his decision.
Do you think that it would have?
Oh, totally, because it was right on. It was in the same vein, and it had the same themes, but it was fresh and it was funny. It was about 7 years later, when the little baby that Buddy and Jovi have at the end of Elf is a little girl, and mortified that her father is an elf, mortified by him. And
still living in New York.
She's suddenly become aware.
Still New Yorkers, or are they
no, they're living
in the suburbs?
They're living outside the city.
Okay.
And so he tries to sort of pocket his elfness and become a regular guy, much to disastrous consequence. So it was really terrific.
It like Flintstones 2 and just a whole different cast.
Well, see, I made a joke earlier about Son of the Mask. Sorry to all people involved with Son of the Mask, but the audience sniffs that out.
Yeah.
When the star doesn't want to do the sequel, even if it's a phenomenal piece of material, everyone's going to be dubious about it.
Right. You're right. Okay, so how does your let's talk about faith and filmmaking. How do you?
Same answer.
Yes, you don't know.
I don't know because faith is faith. It's like I can't separate it from anything. I was like, how do you integrate your faith when you go into Dunkin' Donuts? It's the same question to me. It's just, I live by grace and
well,
under
I don't
grace.
pull a gun on the guy, so there's one.
Okay, so I don't pull a gun on a movie set.
Okay.
That's how I integrate it.
Okay, we got one thing. See,
No, just
it's not that hard, Todd. We can come up with more.
By grace, to try to live what my dad calls the fully integrated life, just that you're always the same person.
Yeah.
And you try to be that person everywhere you go. That's why I don't see a separation.
Okay. But surely there's material that you are not attracted to.
I thought you were going to call me Pod, not Shirley. Stay consistent.
But Pod,
Yes.
surely there's material that you are not attracted to, or a story. How does it affect what you enjoy watching, do you think? Or do you not think about that?
I can only say, you can ask me, what do I enjoy watching?
Do you like Jersey Shore?
No. But I can't separate that out. I can't be like,
Okay.
I really want to watch Jersey Shore, but my faith keeps me from watching. I just can't separate out. Because I am my faith. I'm not alive without Christ.
Right.
So there's no separation for me. I don't see the world through two different lenses. So
Okay.
it's one thing. We can talk about the movies I like or the movies I don't like, but it wouldn't be a faith question.
Right. Okay. And do you think
I've stymied the host. He keeps circling back.
I will find it. I will find the thread.
I know. You know, it's so funny.
to
People are
unravel
so
your
hungry.
faith sweater.
No, but people are so hungry for this. Kids are. Everybody you meet, they and I think people are hungry for it because they consider it a struggle. I'm not saying you do, but they consider it a struggle because they have this binary view of faith and life, as opposed to when you're reborn in Christ. It's new life, and that's who you are.
Right.
And your life is hid with Christ, and there is the old is gone and the new. And this is not that you don't make mistakes; you still completely live under grace.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a new you because the old self is dead.
Do you feel you have a mission to your work? How would you describe what you try to accomplish when you sit down to write something?
First goal of every minute of every day is to glorify God.
Okay.
And
so there's a mission to your life.
Yes. And I always enter into writing via prayer. I always surrender. I start the day by surrendering the day in every way. Mm-hmm. I say, if I can just say the prayer, it'd be easier. This is the prayer I say every morning, which is like, Lord, I surrendered this day to you, and I pray that you would empty me of myself completely and fill me back up with your Holy Spirit, so that the words I speak, the thoughts I think, the deeds I do, and the words I write would not be mine but yours. Sanctify me and set me apart for your holy work, and use me as an instrument of thy divine peace.
Wow.
So that's how I start every day.
Wow. And where did that come?
And then I
find that somewhere? Did you compose that over time?
I composed it over time, but it's really from the Book of Common Prayer.
Okay.
So it's sort of borrowed phrases and mix and match, and I made it personal with the writing part. And but the notion that I cannot do it without prayer, or I can do it poorly without prayer, always drives me to prayer. So I'm praying constantly throughout the day about whatever I'm working on, writing on. And then I also, my faith allows me to reach a point where like, okay, you know what? I've already prayed that prayer, and it's solid. I just need to trust it. I need to, as Morris Boyd, a pastor in New York years ago, said, walk in the direction of your prayer. Like, that's faith. If you pray for something, walk in that direction. It doesn't mean that you're going to receive that answer, but you're moving. There's no inertia, and you're enlivened and emboldened, and your faith grows just because you're living what you believe.
Okay. That's really cool. I hope everyone wrote that down, because that's really cool. What do you think about the state of the movie business?
California?
No, different state. Think. You're so literal. Think more figurative. Well, what do you think?
I don't understand abstract concepts.
Because to me,
you're such a poet, Phil.
It seems to be getting harder and harder to make movies. I mean, here's the contrast that I see. It's easier to make a movie because of technology. Anybody can grab a camera and go make a movie. But it's harder to get a movie made, a real movie, unless it has chipmunks in it or Johnny Depp in an unusual getup. Would you say you see that?
No, that's right on the money. And
Okay.
it's not even about it's harder. It's just not happening. It's over.
So you think the movie business is over?
That side of the movie business,
Which side?
the side of good movies being made that
Okay.
are made because they're good movies.
Yeah.
The movie business is in the product business. The conversations, like I was, again, talking about this at lunch, The Blind Side, right? It's
Yeah.
a beautiful movie made for $30-some million. Grossed $270 million in the States, only about 30 overseas, because of football is not a big deal overseas, and Sandra
Right.
Bullock's a much bigger star in America. And so everyone thought, producers and writers who care about movies like that, and I don't think that movie's a stunning work of art, but I think it's a rock solid piece of drama, and it's moving, and it's a good story, and it's what movies should be. The best versions of those movies are ordinary people, and then the middle version of those movies are The Blind Side, and it's great, and people need those movies. We need
What's the
that
bottom
kind of
version?
storytelling.
What's
I'm gonna be nice.
Oh,
I would say.
okay.
But everyone thought that gave us hope.
Right.
But quickly, every answer to that, this is the next Blind Side, or this is in that area, was met with, we're not going to do another Blind Side. We don't want to do another Blind Side. Okay, given the exact economic parameters, 30 in, 270 out. Nope. Because what they want is 250 in, $1 billion out.
And a franchise.
And lunch boxes and
Yeah.
board games and
Yeah.
video games. And they don't want anything in between, you know? Nobody's wearing blindside pajamas to bed.
Right.
So that's
Right.
it.
So it almost seems to me that what used to be a solid movie is now an HBO series or a special. I mean, it's Boardwalk Empire. It's
Television is the new movies. There's no question about it. And all the talent is going there, all the creative talent, the writers, and a lot of the actors too, because I had a property, I don't know, probably about 9 or 10 months ago, and we had a star attached, and we were going to filmmakers.
for a movie or for TV?
For a movie.
Okay.
And so we needed a director. So I called my agent and I said, here's the deal, and who's available to shoot in the spring, whatever. And without hesitation, he said, everybody's available. And I laughed. I said, that's funny, because I've been doing this a long time and there's no one ever available. It's like 2 guys. And really, who's available? Everyone is available. There's so few movies getting made anymore that all these great directors that we love that have been doing things for 20, 30 years, they're out of work. And especially those directors that are not self-generating material and not writing screenplays, they're out of work.
Not the Wes Andersons and the Coen brothers.
No, but those guys exist in a pocket outside. See, the guys like Paul Thomas Anderson and Wes Anderson, and I guess if your name is Anderson, you're set.
Yeah.
The guy who directs all the Resident Evil movies is also named Paul Anderson.
Wow.
And isn't Keanu Reeves named Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
Awesome. I was waiting for a voice. How long in this podcast do I have to wait to hear a voice?
I was waiting for you to do something Irish or French.
I did. Are you kidding me? I did 3 French things.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
I can't do Irish. I'm banned from doing Irish by
Really?
my family, my in-laws. And
That's too bad. Okay, so the Coens and the Andersons, they live
they live in a
different
protective
world.
bubble of art because they're great at what they do, and they're not expected to provide numbers outside of it. It's like they're the museum painters of our time.
Studios still do them just for Oscar
Well, not really
time?
the studios. If you look at Annapurna that financed The Master, that's money outside the system.
Okay.
And it was distributed by the Weinsteins, so no studio put any money into making the movie. It's very expensive to market that movie, so the Weinsteins put a lot of money into doing that, but after they knew the product was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the guys that just do, what about Woody Allen?
Well, you're picking
does
people that
he
are
get to do that?
Well, because he's got a little tiny model that
works. He
that
makes
works
a
for the most
movie
part.
every year
And very few of his movies lose money.
Yeah.
And then he's always got another one in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And he's Woody Allen. So
Right.
if he loses one financing source, there's somebody else that wants the magic of Woody Allen, or they remember Woody's best work.
But there are also guys doing, $50,000 movies and $100,000 movies.
Well, the best movie of this year by far is
Yeah.
Beasts of the Southern Wild. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't
forget
seen
about it. So that was made
Okay.
for a nickel down in
Not
Louisiana.
really for a nickel.
Well, 7 cents.
not what you
It's-
mean.
It's almost 10 cents.
Okay.
No, metaphorically, Nickelodeon.
Who funded it? Is it
I
self-funded?
don't know. It's probably just somebody he knew.
Okay.
But Fox Searchlight bought it and helped them with finishing funds and then released it and marketed it. But it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's just extraordinary. It's an all unknown cast. It's about incredible poverty, and it's a 5-year-old little girl lead.
Wow.
So those kind of movies do happen, those miracles on the
Yeah.
outside of the system.
Yeah.
And they get a chance, and it's going to be nominated for Best Picture, there's no question. Because now they nominate 10 movies, so they'll nominate it.
So they need a tiny one.
Well, it just will, because it's great. You can't deny it. Everybody should go see that movie.
Okay.
And if you have
What's it called again? What's the name? Because people are wondering. They forgot already.
Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Okay.
And if you have a child, just bring a lot of Kleenexes. Don't bring your child.
No,
it's just
no child.
so harrowing what this 5-year-old little girl goes through and her courage. And
Wow.
it's one of those movies that, except for the fact that it looks gorgeous, so it's not one of those found footage movies. It's like the herky-jerky camera and all that nonsense. But it's so intimate, and you've never seen these people before. It really feels like you found this movie in someone's garage.
So why don't you try something like that? Why don't you do something really low budget?
It's not a business model that I can afford to pursue.
Oh,
It's just not my...
because of your excessive lifestyle and your gambling habits. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't supposed to
Is that what?
say
Is this
that.
thing on?
Hello.
I was told that. I signed an affidavit.
Your dad
That's
told
not
me it
true.
was okay to talk about.
Did the
it.
Ravens win last week?
What?
No, the excessive lifestyle. Living in New York is an excessive
Yes,
lifestyle.
that's true.
No, it's just that my company is set up to do commercial product. It's why I got into producing. So everything we develop is in that same vein. All the relationships we have with writers and filmmakers
Right.
is in that same
So
vein.
you pretty much have
And
to shut down your company and change
it
your
would be
lifestyle.
because it's such a. I just had an amazing conversation. Michael London, who produced Sideways and Milk and The
not
Visitor.
Michael Landon.
Michael London.
London.
Academy Award nominated
Okay.
producer.
Okay.
He is just got involved with the project with us, and I was sitting in his office and looking at all these movies. Have you seen Win Win?
No.
A movie he did last year. Amazing.
Oh wait, is that the wrestling movie? Yeah,
Paul
I love that
Giamatti.
movie.
Oh, okay,
That's
so,
awesome.
So Michael London has produced all these extraordinary movies.
Okay.
And we're sitting there, and I'm praising him for it. He goes, "That business is dead."
Oh.
And
Really?
he's the king of it.
Yeah.
But you just can't make money at it.
Yeah.
And the margins are tighter and tighter, and the movie has to be perfect, and still not many people see it. And now with the windows shrinking, where everything comes out at the same time, smaller
Yeah.
movies are
Right.
video on demand and DVD and theaters all at once, and it's just going to confuse the audience. And
Right.
so yeah, that model's dead too. So it's a very disheartening time.
So what's he doing? Is he going to TV?
Yep. That's what we're doing together. We're doing TV together.
Oh, okay, okay. And
gotta-
and what
you gotta
does that
smell
mean?
the wind.
Pitching.
You gotta
to
follow where the pie is being
smaller
cooked.
cable networks.
Well, everything is all owned by the same company, so it's not really
Okay.
small or anything.
Okay.
I mean, HBO is Time
Right,
Warner, and
right. Are you a fan of Louis C.K.?
you know, I think he's extraordinarily funny.
Yeah.
He's a little misanthropic for me.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
sort of wears me down a little bit.
Yeah.
but
Because
he's,
of your faith.
because of my faith. No, I don't think because of my faith. But I think he's just a giant talent.
I want to watch him. It is hard because he's so.
It's like anything. It just if there's too much salt on a great piece of meat,
Yeah.
you know, to me
Yeah.
he just goes. He's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah.
But not to avoid him. Anytime he'll do stand up, I'll watch it and grimace occasionally. But for the most part, I love it. But his new show is. I liked his old show. I liked his show on HBO.
Okay.
When
I
it was
never
just,
saw that
that
one.
was great. That was like the Honeymooners on
Oh, yeah, 'cause that was
on
a three-camera
basement
sitcom,
budget.
right?
But it was great. It just
Okay.
looked. The set looked dumpy. Everything was just uncomfortable. What's great about Louis C.K. is he looks and feels uncomfortable, and that's what he
Yes.
communicates, and he does it really well.
He's kind of got his own Woody Allen thing, where this is my persona, both as a writer and a director and a performer on camera. And if you come along and get attached to my persona, I can keep making stuff forever.
Yes, and his persona is extraordinarily gifted.
Yeah.
It may not be to
There's
everyone's
that,
taste.
too.
No, but he's super smart and super funny.
Okay, so we like him. Don't put that. You're putting my ukulele out of my reach, which is going to
How do you know?
hard to
Todd Cast listeners.
end the show. He's moving my ukulele far away from me.
That's his power
I was
source,
starting
clearly.
to sweat.
Starting to sweat. The place
Okay,
is a
so-
puddle at your feet. He sweats profusely. I didn't know if you knew that.
I don't- We've run kind of long, but we're having oh so much fun. Here's what I'm wrestling with right now, and I bet you have some of the same struggle. I get emails from kids that want to start doing this, and they ask me, well, how do I start? Or I have an idea for a story that would make a great movie. Would you help me make it into a movie? And I don't even know what to say to them anymore. The business is so ridiculous. What do you say when you're at Wheaton to do chapel? I'm sure somebody came up and said, hey, I want to be a filmmaker like you. How do I do it?
I said, stop emailing Phil. Leave Phil alone. He's got a sweating problem. He's got a ukulele.
Yeah, he has got ukulele attachment syndrome.
Okay, those are two separate questions.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, they are. One, okay. At least in my head. One is the ubiquitous, I've got a movie, what do I do?
Yeah.
I get that from 70-year-olds with self-published books, all the way down to college kids. It's the same answer. An idea is a dime a dozen. It's all about execution. It's like walking into a kitchen. It's like, I've got an amazing idea for dinner. It's going to be so great. And you didn't cook anything. And you set the plate. That was almost a
character.
That was almost a character.
Which character was that? I like
it's new.
That character. Okay.
It's Francis the Talking Walrus.
Yeah, it's an amazing idea guy.
I can't believe it, dinner. It's going to be a huge hit in Bosnia.
Yes. So you gently tell them that...
Just do. Stop asking and do. If you want to do something, do it. It's like anything else. The grass is so long, who's going to cut it? You go cut it. Get the mower and cut it.
They don't know how, and they don't have the money.
There's a mower and a thing. All you do is a blank piece of paper and a pen. That's not very expensive. So write.
Yeah.
Write. And stop asking other people to do what you're asking them to do. That's the first thing. The second thing is doing something because of the state of the business. If you were an oil guy and you thought all the oil's been found and everything else is on Federal Reserve land, and so I give up, well, then you're never going to be an oil guy. You can't look at the culture and say, I want to do this thing, but there's no room left for me. You have to make your own room. Okay. So if you really need to do it, go do it. And no studio head or no executive is the gatekeeper of your destiny. And if that's what God wants you to do, then go do it and you'll find out. Just move in the direction of your prayer and your dreams. It doesn't mean that it will work out, but it means that if you're doing it, that other things will work out.
Okay.
Farming, planting, this is the key to everything, in my opinion. You plant corn, you'll get wheat. You plant an apple tree in the front, you'll get a lemon tree in the back.
Really?
Nothing in my life has gone according to plan.
Do you live in a magical land?
This is reality.
Okay.
Nothing has gone according to plan in my life.
Okay.
But every time I've farmed, every time I planted, it's been rewarded. Something else has grown up, always. Now, if I hadn't planted, I'd have 2 empty fields.
Right.
And I didn't get what I wanted, but hopefully, living by grace and focusing on God's will, I got what He wanted.
Right.
And now, at 46, I don't want anything except what He wants. I have no desire for anything outside of His will. I don't want to talk Him into anything. I don't want to wrestle Him to the ground and say, you're wrong. I don't want to beg Him for anything. I just want what He wants. So that's a really peaceful place to be in.
Yeah.
And if you can try to start from that point of view, then when the disappointment comes and the no's come, because they come perpetually, then you will just know that whatever else is out there is the thing, and the process is beautiful. My dad is a 3-time cancer survivor. And what did he do to turn it on its head? He became friends with his doctors. He built relationships up with his caretakers. He keeps in touch.
Okay.
Now he's healed, but instead of going, woe is me, he just was present in what he was going through, and there was a benefit. So he planted kindness in the middle of that hard field, and it grew friendship. So it's all about doing. And if we take our eyes off ourselves for 10 seconds and we look at Christ, we are reminded of what it's all about. And the responsibility and the worry and the fear, it just washes away. And if we continue that habit of living our life in casting our gaze, as it says, our lives are hid in Christ. If we do that, then not only are we shining brightly, and people notice that light. But they also start to say, what is he looking at? Mm-hmm. It's just like in the street. If someone's looking up, everyone stops to look up. They do that as a social experiment. Well, if you're really casting your eyes metaphorically upward, if you're looking to the higher, to the beauty, to the truth of Christ, people are going to say, what are you looking at?
Right.
And what a great conversation starter to talk about the most important thing in the world.
Wow. And that's what you tell all the kids that want help with their script.
Yep.
Wow. That's impressive.
Would you like to hear it in French?
Okay. Todd Komarnicki.
Oh, that's brutal.
Komarnicki.
That's cruel, isn't it? After all that love and the tenderness.
It's been so long, I already forgot.
How long did we go over?
Komarnicki.
We can just wipe out the first half of the podcast because it was old news anyway.
Komarnicki.
Kremkicki. It's Ed Kremkicki. Write it down.
From The Honeymooners.
Yeah, producer of Shelf.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've done lately or working on right now that people could go find because they've become so fond of you from listening to this podcast?
You're very sweet. The things that are in the pipeline are, the last movie I wrote is the Sully Sullenberger story about the miracle on the Hudson, the plane that landed and everybody lived. I wrote that for Frank Marshall. I finished it. I'm all done. It's in the producer's hands, but they're putting that movie together.
Okay.
So that probably
is it going to get made? You think it's going to get made?
I would imagine. It's a pretty big story, and everybody's happy. So that's out there.
Did you have him talk in French?
No. I wonder if Sully talks in French. We've become friends. He's a lovely man. He really is
he seems
an
like
American
a
hero.
Man.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
It was an honor to get to know him and to see what he did.
So we'll look for that. And you've got a couple books out too, right?
Well, I've published 3 novels. My last novel came out in 2008, so I've been really busy with the movie business.
The non-existent movie business is really keeping you busy?
It is. It keeps me busy because I keep getting hired to write scripts. Whether or not they get made, they keep hiring me, thank God.
Will anyone let you publish the scripts you've written just so that you can prove that you've done something?
I think it'll be down the road. But the happiest, coolest, weirdest thing that happened to me involves one of my books. I got a call from someone who lives in our building in New York who had visited the Pompidou Center in Paris. We're going back to France. And he calls from Paris and he says, "Did you know that you were part of the permanent collection?"
What?
And so I laughed out loud and he said, "Listen, I was going to Paris probably 6 weeks later." He said, "Just go to the Pompidou. All right, just go to the permanent collection and you'll see what I'm talking about." And there was a movement in the 20s and 30s of a kind of art that was just a list of things to do. Mm-hmm. It's Edward Brock is the guy who did the piece that's in the Pompidou. But there were a lot of these artists, and it was just sort of like a happening. So the art piece would be a list that said, hold a pasta noodle, stand on one leg, call out to your mother, and it was sort of a list of list of things to do. And one of them was how to build a shelf. And it listed the things of how to, nail it in and get a piece of wood. And then it said the things to put on the shelf. And a pair of glasses, a mug, and a book. Yeah. And so in the permanent collection is this shelf with the items on it. And the book that's on the shelf is my first novel, Free, the French translation. It was translated into French.
Wow.
The French translation of Free is on the shelf at the Pompidou. Now, that to me is hysterical because...
And historical.
First of all, it is historical, but first of all, the guy died in the 30s, so he obviously didn't put it up. The book was published in the 90s. Whoever chose to put it up, of all the books, I kid you not, even my parents didn't read my first book. This is like the least sold book in the history of the world. It was translated into French, but somehow by accident.
That's all it takes.
The fact that there's one copy in the world and it's on this shelf in the Pompidou.
It'll never go
That
away.
is a lemon tree out of apple seeds, if ever I saw one.
And you got a check for how much to have your book displayed?
Well, it only cost me 12 euros to get into the Pompidou. Is that a check? No, it's the. Are you kidding me? I'm in the Pompidou. I'll pay them. It's like, and how fun it is to say
awesome.
Pompidou.
Do you have any strong opinions about Christian filmmaking, about making explicitly Christian films that you think are worth sharing? We've had a great time here with Todd.
No, listen.
Yeah, okay.
all I can say is that a person who's called to tell stories, that's their journey, and they need to answer in their own way and tell their own stories. Obviously, there's incredible beauty that comes out of that and stuff that has a huge impact, and your work is among those.
I've made Christian films
Yes,
that
you
are
have.
explicitly Christian.
Yes. The question sort of ropes in what people generally expect, like the fireproofs and the Left Behinds and those kind of things. And because I don't know any of those individuals and I only have a sort of peripheral experience with the material, it's not appropriate for me to talk about.
Okay.
And I think people are trying their hardest, and hopefully it's not alienating. Hopefully it's it brings some.
Could there be an
good
evangelistic film with Elf in it?
What do you mean by that?
Will Ferrell, would have some sort of a Damascus Road experience as Elf, and then go to the mission field.
That's a really weird
Do
question.
you think that would be good?
Is that where all films are leading to Damascus Road equals mission field movie?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen
it's
via
good storytelling.
I don't know
it's
if
redemptive.
Well, no, it's only good storytelling if it's good storytelling.
Sad little elf.
Unredemptive stories are just as powerful. It's all about the telling. I mean, is it well told or not? It's not about the message.
Okay. Are you a fan of Flannery O'Connor?
Oh, forget about it. She's extraordinary.
Okay. So I kind of figured. Okay.
Yeah.
Christian author, but very kind of non-traditional Christian author. Not writing Amish love stories.
Well, you know who the most non-traditional Christian storyteller is of all time? Jesus Christ.
No, wait a minute. I know this. Wait, don't give me the answer. Jesus. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Well, it just is the truth. You can say it or not, but it's just a fact. There's nothing traditional about Jesus.
Do you know what I have to say about that? That ends our time here with Todd Komarnicki. I have to wrap it up with a song now. I have to try and sing a song about what we just talked about. Todd Komarnicki, he's pretty tricky. He didn't want to answer my questions about Christian filmmaking because he might insult someone, and that wouldn't be Christian, which is why Christians write very bad movie reviews, because we don't want to give bad news. We just want to love and we just want to hug. We just want to write a story about a bug who meets Jesus and has a Damascus Road experience. And I think I've seen that actually. It's a kid video series in the CBA. But thanks, Todd, for coming along. And thanks for helping me sing this song. You're really pretty good. You should have a rock band if this filmmaking thing falls in the sand. Todd. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for coming.
That reason for not commenting on that was not correct. I'm happy to insult lots of people.
Oh, really?
I just don't like speaking about things I don't know intimately.
Right.
Like if I had an interaction that was specific, I would absolutely tell you about it.
Okay.
I was just being deferential.
Now you've criticized my reason for why you wouldn't criticize.
Proof, so I'm not afraid. I'm totally critical.
You are open to being
This is
critical.
the worst Toddcast I've ever been on.
That is awesome.
It's also the best Toddcast I've ever been on because it's the only Toddcast I've ever been on.
I feel so loved and criticized and embraced and warm and fuzzy. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.
Peace.